Okay, we're live, chill stream here, looking at some videos of Canadians talking about Greenland. I'm sort of at the point where I think it actually makes sense for USA to get it, and I also don't think Canada has really a leg to stand on to be in opposition of that.
I'm Arthi Pohl. We lead off with the escalating threats by U.S. President Donald Trump. This time, his demands to acquire Greenland. Those threats are testing the NATO alliance, which includes Canada. The White House wants to impose new tariffs on several EU countries over his demand to acquire Greenland. And this is drawing in Canada. Two senior Canadian officials tell CBC News that Prime Minister Mark Carney is considering sending soldiers to Greenland for military exercises with NATO allies. Carney just arrived in Switzerland minutes ago to attend the World Economic Forum in Davos. It is his last stop on a trip to strengthen Canada's global trade ties outside of the United States.
Canada, though, has been relying on Greenland on US for NATO protection for far too long. All these countries that barely even contribute to NATO, don't even hit the 2% target for years, now complaining, I think is pretty rich.
And these are some of those images just into our newsroom moments ago of Carney arriving in Zurich, Switzerland. He will be heading off to Davos, where he will likely meet with his European counterparts and NATO allies on the
Hey, D2C, I'm doing good. How are you doing today?
Itinerary. He will be meeting with the president of France. We know that Trump's territorial ambitions are already overshadowing the agenda. The American president will be at the forum later on this week, lending even more urgency to this situation.
It's a serious situation, and we're concerned. We're concerned about this escalation, to be absolutely clear. We always will support sovereignty and territorial integrity of countries wherever their geographic location is.
Now, that was Prime Minister Mark Carney speaking yesterday in Doha on this situation. We know that the World Economic Forum goes until this Friday, and we'll bring you any developments as they come in to us. So we want to keep close on this story. All eyes are on the Prime Minister as he considers sending soldiers to Greenland. The stakes and tensions couldn't be higher. So for more...
I actually think the U.S. is going to get Greenland. I don't think this is going to go away. Yeah, I think if the U.S. wants Greenland, they want it for national security. I don't really know that NATO has much of a leg to stand on. U.S. has been carrying NATO for so long. All these countries have been so protected by NATO for so long. At some point, I think it makes sense for the U.S. to be like, well, what are we getting out of this then?
Insight on this, let's bring in retired General Tom Lawson. He is a former chief of the defense staff for the Canadian Armed Forces, and he joins us from Ottawa. Thank you for making time for us today.
Pleasure, Arthi.
So first, I want to ask you, General Lawson, should Canada send troops to Greenland?
Well, I think so. I think that...
Yeah, it's definitely not going away. I don't think it is. I think Trump is very serious about Greenland. And I think it's possible, too. Like, I think it could happen, which is incredible.
The idea behind so many NATO members gathering small groups of troops and sending them to Greenland for this late-breaking and impromptu exercise, as they're calling it, is a clear rebuke to the United States. They're not sending soldiers in numbers that would actually defend bases and towns in Greenland from any true attack, but they are saying something very clear. I think our Prime Minister is walking a tightrope in what he does when you don't really want to be in the clear view of a bully, especially when there are big negotiations coming. But I think you do want to do what you have to do to stand up for your morals and integrities. And in this case, NATO is clearly behind, except for one member, Denmark and Greenland and their sovereignty.
How dangerous or risky could this be if it's seen as a provocative move by the U.S. president?
Well, there's a couple of ways to look at that. For Canada, it could be very dangerous.
I would like to see Trump spank Carney so hard that his stupid, smug-looking face breaks down. Man, I don't. Yeah, I actually just don't even care if USA took Greenland. If US wants it, if they think it's vital for their national security, I'm fine with that.
In an economic fashion. But for NATO, I think really you put your finger on it. It's much, much bigger. If I could use an analogy, if we considered NATO to be a ship, it's got a very big and existential threat on its eastern border. So this ship could potentially come under fire as a result of the illegal and horrific war being conducted by Russia in Ukraine right now. That's what should have the NATO ship's entire focus. But in fact,
let's see what else we can find here. There's this CBC playlist.
I'm
here.
Arthi Pole.
As yeah, there's a CBC playlist here, and we'll see if we can get some more. There's also some tweets and stuff I want to go over from a bunch of
I'm Arthi
Canadians.
Pole. We lead off with the escalating threats by U.S.
Can NATO survive Trump's threats to take over Greenland? See what Keir Starmer has to say. Find it funny how Carney. Yeah. The thing is, though, like, D2C, do you like Polyev? I forget what your position is on Polyev because he made a statement on this yesterday that I'll get to later. I'll just pull it up real quick, which I think is awful politically. Like, this is, I think, the exact... I liked Polyev, a few of his recent statements, but he made a statement like, this is the dumbest tweet ever. It's just going to alienate people. There's no reason for him to post this. It's almost like Polyev doesn't actually know what winning is like, how to win. But I don't know. What do you like, Polyev? Let me know. Either way, it's all good. But this post was so stupid. It's got huge reach, 1.2 million views. But the top replies are basically people flaming him. So obviously lots of people agree as well, but the pleb, I think, is correct. Pavlovsky, the leader of Rumble, I think is correct. Yeah, pretty much everybody is disagreeing. There's no right wing in Canada. Like, I agree with this post from Mr. Sunshine Baby. It's like you hate winning. This guy, way to keep those elbows up. That ought to pander us into the war with US. It's just so dumb. Like, did the LPC write this? Your job is official opposition. Your job is to oppose the government, not cheerlead. Yeah, so anyway.
The UK is one of the countries that would be hit with Trump's Greenland tariff, and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is responding. Crystal Gumansing is with us from London. Crystal, it may be a sign of the pressure European leaders are under that Starmer came out to give a televised address in Switzerland this morning. What did he say?
Yeah, his comments at 10 Downing Street were really him trying to strike a balance. He is...
That probably looks great on camera. I think my pita just like spilled a little bit. Look like a total slob. My apologies.
Is very clear about the important relationship between the UK and the US, but
Pierre's weak. He was too worried about losing the election because of TDS costing it. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm right there with you. It was the worst strategy I've ever seen. I thought he was getting a little bit better, but this post, I think that post that he made last night is actually a huge deal in a negative fashion. I think he's right back to that version of Polyev that'll never win an election. And I'm probably at the point now where I want a new leader. I was giving him a chance, but he doesn't learn. So I'm kind of an anti-Polyev guy again, which I really wanted to like him this time, but we can't be having that. If the Conservatives ever want to win, And then the thing is about that Polyev post, that makes me more pro Alberta separation, because if you're an Albertan watching that, you're going to say, okay, if the Conservatives win, what's the fucking difference going to be? So to me, there's no excuse for that.
He also needed to project strength to show people here at home that he isn't just going to bow to pressure, that he is able to support his European colleagues and countrymen, but also as a NATO member. He came out today very clearly stating that these sort of pressure tactics, these threats of a 10% tariff, are just not appropriate.
Alliances endure because they're built on respect and partnership, not pressure. That is why I said the use of tariffs against allies is completely wrong. It is not the right way to resolve differences within an alliance. Nor is it helpful to frame efforts to strengthen Greenland's security as a justification for economic pressure.
Now, he added that no one would win in a trade war, but he also, in the same breath, said it's very important to look at the high Arctic, that climate change will...
Starmer and Carney are on the same level of pond. Who do you dislike more? So far, I think Starmer's even more of a joke. Because I think Starmer is really big into censoring people. If Carney is into that, he's at least doing it more sneaky. But yeah, I think they're ideologically very similar. But I do not think Starmer's a great leader at all.
Open up more of the territories, that there needs to be a focus on security. And he is, again, along with all of the European nations.
I think the Reform Party in the UK is still the one that's doing well. I was talking to some people I met in Bali about that, and they were saying the Reform Party is kind of right-wing socially and left-wing economically. That's according to them. And at least at the time, this is a few months ago, it was in number one. Like the Reform Party was number one in polling. I don't know where it's at right now.
Saying that cooperation is something that can be enhanced. They are all NATO allies. They should be working together. And we heard a little bit more from the Prime Minister on that.
And let's be clear, the security of Greenland matters. And it will matter more as climate change reshapes the Arctic.
Yeah, these guys, man. Climate change. Why would you? Oh, what a bad statement. So pointless.
As sea routes open and strategic competition intensifies, the High North will require greater attention, greater investment, and stronger collective defence.
I mean, I guess if sea routes open, but man, I don't know.
So collective defense, we should prepare ourselves to hear a lot about that in the coming days as those NATO members try to talk about the collective defense, how everyone can work together in a hope that they can draw U.S. President Donald Trump onto their side. Denmark and...
I don't think Trump's coming around. I think Trump is very serious about Greenland. I also think Trump is tired of trying to... not trying to, but I think Trump is tired of working really hard and then all these countries still treat him kind of like a joke. I think Trump is actually, like, on a personal level, I'm totally guessing, but I think on some level he's so sick of that because I think the vast majority of things Trump has done are just in the interest of not only America, but of everybody. And I think he's tired of that when the international community still mocks him. A lot of these like major Canadian networks and major networks around the world still all treat him like a joke. I think he's like, well, then screw you. I'm just going to do exactly what I want for America and you can all shove it. Starmer is prob worse, which says a lot. Yeah, I think he's probably so far worse, but the other part about that is he's been in office for longer. So you always, like, if you're Carney, you always get I think, a little bit of a natural advantage. Just you haven't been in there long enough to screw things up yet. Plus, Carney's taking over from a terrible prime minister, so that's another advantage. Like Carney took over for Trudeau. That's another huge advantage to Carney. So I think that's, but Starmer, another chat here. Hello, Christopher. Thank you for chatting. Starmer, Carney, Poilievre, there's no difference. They all swore an oath to the king. That's what it's looking like, man. I don't know if you were just here when I brought up Poilievre's X post on this last night, but it's looking like they're all very similar, which is concerning. Legacy media trying to spin their state-fed narratives is so cringe, totally.
The people of Greenland have said there's an opportunity for the United States to increase its military personnel numbers in Greenland. There is one base there. They used to have many, many more. So you will hear them try to talk about enhanced cooperation rather than these continued threats of takeovers and possible tariffs, Susan.
Crystal, I misspoke there. I thought he was already in Davos this morning. He, in fact, as you said, is at number 10 Downing Street in London this morning, the Prime Minister of the UK. Now, Trump's tariff threat on Greenland extends to a number of other European countries, including France and Germany. What are we hearing from other European leaders?
Yeah, well, we will hear more in Davos, that's for sure, when we know the U.S. president will be there along with a number of European leaders. It's interesting. They are trying to be very, very strong here. We heard from French President Emmanuel Macron saying that the European Union could use what he called the trade bazooka. That would be calling into effect the EU's anti-coercion instrument. We heard as well from Kaja Kallas, the EU's top diplomat, saying that, telling the Reuters news agency that she is going to be having meetings with a number of officials today in Brussels, meeting with the foreign minister of Greenland as well as the defense minister from the Danish territory. They are really trying to come together and come up with a one line, a united front when it comes to Greenland. And we'll
come back to Canadian news. I want to see what Fox is saying here. Trump doubles down on Greenland. Acquisition push. We'll kind of take a look at what the world is saying about this, but Trump ties Greenland threat. The Nobel Peace Prize snub. I want to see this as well, but
President Trump not backing down from his push to take over Greenland, citing security concerns and criticizing Denmark's inability to protect the Arctic territory. The president posting on Truth Social last night, NATO has been telling Denmark for 20 years that you have to get the Russian threat away from Greenland. Unfortunately, Denmark has been unable to do anything about it. Now it is time, and it will be done. Joining me now is former NSC Chief of Staff under President Trump, Alex Gray. Alex, good morning. Great to see you. So the president is, of course, dead set on acquiring Greenland and even announcing tariffs on European countries. And those European countries are dead set against this, and they're going to be holding this emergency summit today over what the heck to do. So what happens next?
Well, thanks for having me, Carly. I think our European friends really need to step back from this performative domestic politics that they're engaged in and realize that this is about a core interest of the United States. Greenland's a part of the Western Hemisphere. It's been under threat by Chinese and Russian aggressive activity over the last, as the president said, several decades. Our friends in Denmark haven't done anything about it. And the president was actually on the path last week with this meeting that Vice President Vance chaired to have a really successful path forward where we were talking directly to our Greenlandic friends and our Danish allies about a path forward for the United States to have more ultimate control over Greenland. And then the Europeans decided to showboat, send in this absurd contingent of troops to act like they were going to stop some sort of crazy American invasion. As you know, Carly, we have unlimited access militarily to Greenland as it is. There's nothing to invade. The question here is, how do we protect the future of Greenland from a Chinese or Russian long-term, some sort of long-term
An extraordinary new development in President Trump's push to take over Greenland as European leaders meet to discuss an emergency response to his new tariff threat. The president sent a letter to Norway's prime minister, according to a diplomat who's seen the note. He wrote in part, quote, "Dear Jonas, considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace, although that's always be predominant, but can now think about what is good and proper for the United States of America. CNN's Melissa Bell joins us live from Paris this morning. The Prime Minister of Norway now saying, yeah, that's the letter I got from President Trump talking about the Nobel Peace Prize. It's a pretty remarkable development.
It's a remarkable tone that struck in that letter, dear journalists, that fit of pique almost at not having received.
I mean, Trump, I would say, is negotiating, but I do believe on some level, it's not even about just that Nobel Peace Prize, I don't think. I think he is tired of not getting that much respect from the international community. Even though he has done so much, and the U.S. has done so much for all these NATO countries, including Canada, yet there's continually this hostile attitude toward Trump.
The Nobel Peace Prize used as justification for all that we've seen over the course of the weekend. And that is, John, this extraordinary ratcheting up of this pressure on Europe to try and force them essentially to hand over or sell Greenland to the United States, which is an extraordinary turn of events that now tariffs should be being used at this particular moment to try and exert pressure on Europe. And that timing is really unfortunate, John, for a number of reasons. First of all, because in front of European lawmakers was due this week the very deal that was signed last summer to avert a trade war between the United States and Europe, the trade deal that sets American tariffs at 15% and that prevents the European Union from imposing levies on the United States. What we understand now is that European lawmakers are not going to pass that deal as a result of these renewed threats of fresh tariffs on European Union countries. What that means is that if the deal is not agreed upon, the retaliatory 93 billion euro worth of European counter
The discussions focus
Okay, this is a very recent video here from CTV.
on how to ensure the long-term security in Greenland. And here our perspectives continue to differ, I must say. The President has made his view clear, and we have a different position.
Representatives of Denmark and Greenland visited Washington, D.C. this week for a high-stakes meeting at the White House. This as U.S. President Donald Trump continues to claim he, quote, needs Greenland for security reasons. And now he's threatening to tariff countries who oppose a U.S. takeover of the autonomous territory. The rhetoric has drawn widespread concern from European allies, some of whom are now sending troops to Greenland at the request of Denmark. Joining me is the UK High Commissioner to Canada, Rob Tinline. Next to him, that's France's ambassador to Canada, Michel Miraillet. And next to him, that's Germany's ambassador to Canada, Jorben Bellman. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you here all together. Thank you for making the time. Ambassador Bellman, I'm going to start with you. Donald Trump this week stated that anything short of Greenland being in American or U.S. hands is, quote, unacceptable. What does that say to you?
I think all of our governments have been very clear on defending territorial integrity and the right to self-determination. So we've said very clearly that, you know, it's only for Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark to decide on matters for regarding Greenland, the Kingdom of Denmark. At the same time, it is clear that there are concerns in DC regarding Arctic security, something we take very seriously as well. So for us, what it means that we have to work now towards finding answers to that, to finding a solution. This is why the German foreign minister was in DC at the beginning of this week. This is why we've put proposals on the table in NATO to see whether the alliance can have more of a presence. It's why we have deployed our soldiers to Greenland as part of the exercise Arctic Endurance. And we want to be constructive and bring this to a solution that respects territorial integrity and sovereignty.
Ambassador Miraillet, is it your impression that there is a solution that could be qualified as constructive to be had, where where the concerns of Trump in the Arctic are?
Well, I would say that if I stick to what we heard about, I mean, the meetings between the Danish Minister of Foreign Affairs and Mr. Vance and the Secretary of State, I think that we need to give time to time. I mean, Greenland is at the cornerstone of two issues, fundamental issues for NATO and for the European Union. First of all is the security in the North Atlantic, and on the other hand, the respect of the sovereignty of countries, member of the alliance, but also member of the European Union. So I think that, I mean, we need to calm down this whole issue. I mean, in a sense, it's a family affairs, and there's nothing worse than family affairs. I mean, the French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre was used to say, "Family, I hate you." But I think that it's not the first crisis we see within NATO. I mean, we have encountered that in 2000.
European countries ask for the consequences of tariffs. Well, I agree, but I think I agree. What do you mean, though, if you could expand a little bit? I mean, in some way, I think Canada has it, like, just by underfunding NATO for so many years. There's a bunch of European countries that have been doing that as well. I don't know exactly which ones have been under 2. I know Spain has. I think they continue to be, but I think Canada finally has, like, either committed or is at 2%. I don't think we're there yet, but I mean, the entire time when Trudeau was in, he would say, "Oh yeah, we'll get to 2%, but in like 10 years from now." So I don't think if you're going to have that position as Canada, when this happens, I don't think you have much of a leg to stand on. When Trump and USA says, "Well, we want Greenland," then you can complain, and Canada is doing that, but what the hell have you been doing for NATO? Not nearly enough. Canada is just so lucky with our geography, and we've been getting so, we've had such like a good deal just by being right beside America for so long, and we squandered that, in my opinion, for sure, with all the stupid priorities of our country, like climate change obsession, indigenous reconciliation obsession, DEI, wokeness, like all the apology tour, the demoralization of the country, our incredibly insane immigration policy. I think a lot of those things we would have had to have way better priorities, way more realistic ones, if we didn't just have this massive benefit of being able to trade with America and being protected by their military. So yeah, I think Canada has fumbled so hard, and I don't think Canada has any standing to tell America what they should and shouldn't do.
I think that there's a unanimity between leaders to remind, I mean, the United States that, I mean, as a democratic country, I mean, they need to stick to the independence and compromise with the, we are uncompromising with the national sovereignty of our partners.
Do you think, High Commissioner, that the temperature can be turned down? And I think under most circumstances, it would be understandable that it could be, given
not backing America with the security threat from Greenland and actually sending troops. European countries are in no position with trade to snub America in any way, let alone a security threat. Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
in the posture of NATO allies in relation to the kinds of things President Trump is talking about. But every time a solution or even the proposition of turning the temperature down is put to the president or one of his delegates, they appear to be even more emphatic in their rhetoric about their desire to acquire Greenland.
So look, we're doing fundamentally two things, the Dane and the Greenland forum.
I think I'm going to stop the stream in a second here and then go live again, though. Just on the topic of Alberta independence, I think it's better for me to just stop the stream and start a new one. So I think I'll do that because I basically made my point. Well, I'll finish off, I guess, with some of the bookmarks I have on X about this topic, and then I'll stop the stream and go live again on Alberta independence. But here we got some. So yeah, this is like my point about Polyev post this. People are not going to think this is enough. It's so stupid politically. This person, hey, wait a second, aren't you the same guy who praised Trump? So these like people like this, whoever, I don't even know who this is, they're never going to like Polyev. So you make a post like this, it's so stupid. Look, this guy probably has like massive Polyev derangement syndrome. Yeah, ridiculous. This guy, young Canadian woman, has more balls and stronger rhetoric than Pierre Polyev. I don't know if she's talking about Greenland, though.
The problems are how hard it is to find a job. And
yeah, I'm going to save that for my next video. Next stream, rather. Yeah, he was bootlicking and congratulating Trump. The CPC is MAGA at this point in time, largely traitors to Canada. That's not about that. Anyway, okay, with that said, I'll finish the stream. I'm going to go live in like 5 minutes probably on Alberta independence. Thanks for watching. Have a great